Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another weekly series of webinars hosted from Paladin Data Corporation. Before we get started, if everybody could raise their hands, let me know that you can see my screen and hear me okay. That would be fantastic. Thank you, Brian. Blake, appreciate it. Good deal. Okay. Well, it looks like the system is loaded and functioning properly. Kind of an interesting topic this week about reports. I think we all know the value of data, but to effectively manage a store, it's kind of important to know where you've been, what have you done. Historical data gets you those answers to those questions, and then that not only helps you see where you're at today, it helps you set goals for the future, because it's kind of hard to plan for the future if you don't know where you're at right now. And hopefully these reports will help you in that. By no means is this an exhaustive list of all the reports in Paladin. Again, this is the most effective reports to manage your business, and that's kind of what we're going to go over. There's going to be a lot of information. It's going to move fairly quick, but like always, this is going to be recorded and saved up to our webinar series, so you can go back and watch this anytime you want. A statement that we think typifies data is this: data is the fuel behind business success. Data is the new oil in the world economy. Mining it, managing it, and putting it to work is vital to the success of any business. Can you be successful without it? Sure, to a degree, but you will be limited. Just like a fuel is the propellant to make a car go, data is the same thing for your store. And looking at the data will help you propel, hopefully, your business to that next level that you guys are trying to reach. So in this series, what you'll learn, well, the various reporting methods in Paladin. Most people are aware of one, maybe two different ways to get reports, but there's many ways to pull data out of our system in Paladin. So we're going to kind of go over those reports to manage your business. Those are something that you would kind of run on a daily basis. Inventory reporting and back office management. When you're ready to deep dive and take a good look at your inventory, what reports should you run and look at? And then what is ODBC? Why should I care? We're really excited about the ODBC connector in Paladin, and we'll kind of talk about what it is and how it could benefit you guys. And then obviously, as always, at the end, we kind of have a learn more, or a section to where you guys can deep dive into further knowledge base articles on any one of these topics. So to get us started, the various reporting methods in Paladin. Well, we're all familiar with the report module running across the top ribbon in Paladin, aren't we? It's Paladin Reports, and we know that in there we can glean and get a whole bunch of data out of the system with that. But we also have advanced lookup. So we're going to kind of talk about how to use advanced lookup and pull data out of that, and magnifying glass reports. So we see magnifying glasses scattered throughout the package. What reports can we get out of those? And then when we do, where do they go? Then above that, I don't know if this gets a little more obscure. There's actually a reports button, Paladin Reports, in the menu. Underneath that, we have a SQL report builder. As brought out, it's kind of a programmer's delight. If you're familiar with the SQL language and want to kind of deep dive in that, we give you the tools and resources to build it, to kind of customize your own reports if you so choose. And then the MS Access templates, where you can do the custom labels, signs, reports, things of that nature in there. So we also have a way to search text in a transaction report. So it's pretty much in any keyword search in a transaction report to pull out data. If you can't remember invoice number or date, you can do it by a keyword. And then there's that ODBC, which stands for Open Database Connectivity and Advanced Reporting. So we're going to go over all those. So to get us started, the first way to pull reports out, again, is in the reports module. When you select that button, you get the view over to your left where it says accounts receivable, inventory, sales analysis, and customers. From there, you can kind of deep dive on any one of those subjects. The reports that manage your business are going to be primarily under the sales analysis and accounts receivable piece, but some people like to rank their customers. So they like to do a customer sales and ranking report, which you can rank by sales or profit, whatever is important to you. A little of both, probably, most likely. So in looking at our sales analysis, starting there, in the what I need to know section, here's kind of the stuff that you might run maybe on a daily basis. The hourly analysis report. When is your busiest hour of the day? And for you, what constitutes busy? Does that mean most dollars spent in your store? Does that mean most inventory items sold or most invoices written? You get all three of those data sets when looking at this report. You could run it for a day's worth of time, a week, a month, a year. So it's kind of interesting to see those trends on your hourly analysis report and see what your most busy, or the busiest hour of the day is, based upon the criteria that you want to see, which is pretty cool. Salesperson exception report. Who is discounting things in your store? Why are they doing it? Here you can run this report and kind of see what salesman is changing your prices in your store. So it's a good management tool and a good daily report to run just to make sure that they're not discounting things that they're not supposed to. Obviously, a transaction report, very valuable. A lot of information we can kind of pull out of there. We'll kind of deep dive into there a little bit later. But do you know that there's an Excel option for that? We all know the benefits of Microsoft Excel because you can kind of slice and dice it and reorganize it into a way that's meaningful to you. So transaction report to Excel might be a new thought or a new idea for you. And if there's any pharmacy listening and on the webinar, the pharmacist consultation report, obviously very important. Not only the consultation, but showing the signatures and all the information that's relevant to that is a very good report for them. Margins on an invoice level, we all know the benefit of that. And then the sales tax detail. If you were ever to get an audit, okay, this is the report that you want to run. This is a very, very, very detailed report. It breaks down on an invoice level each sales tax structure and what percentage it was, how much it was. I think it goes out to 5 decimal points, very detailed, and you can run it for a month's worth of time. So if you were ever in that situation of an audit, the sales tax detail report is the report that you want to run for that. So very important report to know when running your business. So in the transaction report, I mentioned we were going to kind of talk about some of the ways you can deep dive. There are so many ways that you can search for a very specific invoice using the transaction report. Earlier, we talked about keyword searching, whether that is a custom note that you put in there, a description that you know has that keyword in it, you can search that way. But as you can see, there's so many other ways to slice and dice this report by date, part number, employee, department, class, a different payment method. Maybe you knew they came in and wrote a check. So I only want to look for invoices that were paid for by check. You can do that, that have this maybe certain description in it between this date range. How about invoice amounts less than 0? So you want to look at your returns. You can do that. You can do an equal to, greater than, or less than a certain amount, which is really cool. And then not only by that, we can look at terminal, employee, and account sorting, which is really neat, and date. So a very, very, very powerful report. Use it. Just go inside the report and play around, see all the things that you can do with it, and call us if you have any other questions as well. It's a very neat report with the transaction report. We all know kind of what one looks like. It's actually what the transaction details that we send out with statements look identical to this as well. So if you're doing transaction details with statements, this is exactly what your customers will see. But anything that was on the regular receipt that was printed, just in a little bit different of a format. So signatures, quantity, tax paid, all the relevant information. Daily balancing. So we know that at the end of the day, balancing the cash flow is very important. So this is the report to do that. Today's register balance defaults to today's date. Yesterday's register balance defaults to yesterday's date. The period register balance does month to date. So today we're the August 20th, so it would say August 1st through the 20th and just defaults to that. But you can select any one of those and change the date to your desired date range. That's okay. Those are just defaults. They're all a register balance report. So any report can get any data, whether that's a day, week, month, year. It's just up to you to decide which one you want to choose. And then we have a check deposit, credit card deposit, and an ACH deposit, which can be ran separately, but also can be included when you run your register balance as well, which this is where you would do that. So you can see the different ways we can slice and dice a register balance report by date range, terminal, or employee. So if an employee has a cash drawer that they take with them and moves with them throughout, you're probably going to want to run this by employee because the money follows the employee, not necessarily the terminal that they were in. So we have both options there. And this is where you would include a check deposit report or an ACH deposit report inside of this. So it just automatically appends to the end of the report as well. Now, if there's any ACE stores out there, for the ACE stores, we have an export ACE rewards data to Excel. What that does is that includes the total sales and then loyalty sales, so you can see the difference. It includes the number of transactions and then the number of loyalty transactions. So again, you can kind of see the difference. And then it adds the overall percentage of loyalty transactions. So a relevant report for our ACE stores out there. So here's what the report looks like. I'm sure we've all seen it. And we can see the blank column next to type totals. We got actual. There's where you could kind of hand fill in what they actually are and use that to balance your cash drawer. Again, includes all the relevant information that you need to balance those cash drawers. If you need more help or want a deep dive on any one of these reports, again, there's going to be a link to some knowledge base articles at the end, or call Paladin support up, and we'd be more than happy to help you with any one of these. But the daily balancing is, like it says, how you're going to balance your cash drawer on a daily basis. Very important report. Revenue report. Everybody wants to know, how much money did I make today? Well, here's where we'd go to get that. Again, we have a today's, a yesterday's, and a period comparative revenue report. They're all comparative revenue reports. They just default to the date. So you can use any one of those to choose any date range that you want. And then report revenue from a promotion. So if you got a special promotion and you want to see, did I make money off that? You can do that as well. So again, revenue report settings. We have ways to kind of slice and dice this. Day, week, month, year. It's kind of interesting to go back and kind of see how you've done for the last year, maybe 365 looking backwards. It's really neat. Again, you can run this by terminal or employee and kind of see the revenue in both ways. By default, we include the prior year's comparative totals. So if you've been with Paladin longer than a year, you're going to start to see this data show up to see what did I do between the date range selected last year. And it's really cool. Some really good information can be gleaned from looking at that data and kind of doing a year-over-year comparison. Now, I will say, let's say you're trying to compare Black Friday this year to Black Friday last year. What you're going to want to do is run that by business day, because by date, You could be looking at a Wednesday last year, and it's a Thursday this year, or vice versa. So you want to go by business day. That way you're comparing a Friday to a Friday or a Thursday to a Thursday. So you get the idea. And the bottom. Now, we default the detail by on a department level. So the revenue report totals will always be the same, but we default how those get detailed by department. One thing that's really cool that we've added into the system is customer types. And this kind of gives you an idea of what that looks like. So we see up top in revenue sources, cash, charge card, check. How much money did I make between this period? But now we're detailing it by a customer type. So was this a homeowner? Was this a contractor? Was this a plumber? So we have these customer types that you can define in the customer module, and then run this report by customer type and see, as a wrap up, how much are my homeowners spending in my store? What's the number of items that they have purchased, and what is the margin been between the date ranges that I've selected? You can see how many has no customer type selected, as you can see that in this report, and then the two beneath it. We include some standard customer types, but you can go ahead and customize those to your heart's desire. The accounting summary report. So this one's kind of nice if you're doing accounts receivable and you want to see a snapshot of, if I was to get paid all the amount owed to me right now, today, how much money would that be? So here's our summary report that kind of sums up everybody that has a charge account balance and that owes you money. So you can kind of see those totals. You can see since last statement. So you can, how much money, if I'm going to get paid everything that's owed to me on my last statement run, would I get? And then how much have they charged since then? You can kind of see both of those numbers. And then you have your aging, your 30, 60, 90. Who's late? Who owes me money that's past due? So this is a great report to see all that information. Now down beneath it, you kind of can see who's done partial payments, non-taxable sales, some other information that might be pertinent to you that you guys could take a look at as well, service charges. But a very nice summary report to see your AR as a whole. Sales ranking. I mentioned earlier, you can rank sales by the actual overall dollars spent or profit. So whatever is important to you, and you can rank your best customers by either one of those, which is really cool. You go into customers ranking and customer sales ranking to find this report. Some interesting information can be gleaned from this, and some interesting decisions can be made if you're a business owner about these customers, because maybe they're asking for something very specific, and based upon the volume of sales that they do, how well of a customer they are, you might be willing to grant them certain things that maybe you wouldn't be willing to grant if they didn't spend a certain dollar amount. So this would allow you to make that decision based upon the information given. So who's your top 10 best customers in your store? Do you know them today? You might have a good idea off the top of your head, but do you really know who they are? Who are you making the most profit off of? So a very good report. Now, inventory and managing your inventory is a big deal for any store owner, as we know. So here's some of the reports that you can use to help you in managing that. So obviously an item sold, that's just a kind of a history report. We'll go over that. Suggested order report, I'm sure you've heard of that many times talking with Paladin support or been into any one of our trainings. We have a complete webinar on the whole subject, a very good report. Master report. So all of your active inventory exported to an Excel document. That way you can, again, slice and dice it any way you want because it's in Excel. What's the value of my inventory? You know, your December 31st tax report. That's where you get the inventory valuation summary. But it does more than just value your inventory, and we'll kind of look at that as well. And then inventory count list. What's my stock on hand on my different items? So different ways that you can look at your items sold report. You can export it to Excel. You can obviously classify it by different classes, departments, even suppliers, locations, which is very helpful and relevant sometimes in getting down into the granular level of what you're trying to look for. And then you can create a PO from an item sold report. So if you're just wanting to do a replenished order, I just want to order what I sold last week. Well, you can do that. You can create a working purchase order from the data, which is helpful in some scenarios. Here's an example of what a PDF copy of that item sold report looks like. You can kind of see if you're going to go and do manual orders, you kind of have a spot to write how much you want to order in the right column. Again, suggested order reporting is our best practice, but you can use this as well. And again, a purchase order could be created from this data. Suggested order report. I'm not going to talk about this a whole lot. I think you guys understand the benefit of it, but this is a report that we want you using as store owners. If you're not using it yet, call us up. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out how we can get it going. If you've tried to use it and it's an exorbitant amount of money, there's reasons for that. We can work with you on trying to dial this in. So don't give up on it. Give us a call. This is a huge, not just time saver, a money saver, because you're taking the emotion out of ordering. So you're just allowing the computer to do what it does really well, and it's mine that data. It has all those data points, and it uses that to come up with a suggested order. A master report. So again, here's where we can export your sales into an Excel. Again, maybe I want to see everybody from a certain supplier into an Excel workbook. You can do that from here. Anybody in a certain department into an Excel workbook, and you can look at that information here. A lot of different headers. Here's a snapshot of a few of them. Description 1, description 2, price, margin, primary, alternate. There's so many more headers that you could look at. But if that's something that interests you to see your active inventory in an Excel workbook, that's the report to run. Okay. Inventory valuation. We know that it does the value of your inventory, but did you know it does gross margin return on investment by department? That's a really interesting number. And GMROI is a fun number. It's more than just a flat margin. It takes into consideration movement or velocity of an item. So GMROI, we feel, is a better representation of how well you're doing rather than just a flat margin. But it has margin as well. So it kind of has both. But if you ever want to see gross margin return on investment by department, here's the report to run. And then obviously it has, as stated, your valuation of your inventory that you currently have on hand. Year-to-date sales, year-to-date profit, stock value, retail value. So a very good report. One thing to keep in mind with this report, you cannot go back in time and run it. Okay, this is a real-time report, much like our accounting summary report. Those two reports are real-time in Paladin. If you have not scheduled those or made those scheduled reports, call us up. We need to get that going for you guys. We recommend just running the monthly. End of every month, you just have a report sitting there for you. That way you have that certain snapshot that you need. But very important report to run. Inventory count list. You can use this to help you count the store, but an RF gun, we feel, is a really good way of doing that. But you can use it for this. Even more so, this is a go-to report for Charles when he does the BizFit on sites. So, and he's determining the health of the inventory, and it's not just him. A lot of us here at Paladin use it. This is the report that we run. It's a nice, concise report that shows margin. That way we can sort by any product that has upside down margins and see why and try to get those fixed. Last counted date. Are you actually inventorying your store? This report will air those items that haven't been counted in a long time to the surface and bubble that up to the surface. That way we can take a look at that. So your retail price. So it's just a really good report to run that's concise, that gives us the information that we like to see for assessing the health, the overall health of your inventory. So inventory count list report is a good report for that. Now, advanced lookup reports. Maybe these are reports that you never really thought about, but there's an advanced lookup button in our invoice and quote module, our customers module, our inventory module, and our PO module. Now, deep diving in any one of those modules, like let's say it's inventory, well, I'm looking at I need to try to find a part that I don't know the number off the top of my head, so I got to do a keyword search in the inventory module. So you can use advanced lookup for that. But invoice and quote in advanced lookup, you're able to do quite a few things. That's where the power of advanced lookup really comes into play, because you can actually look at inventory, obviously, but then you can look at customers. You can actually look at when a customer has bought a specific item. So you can look at invoice history by item. And you can do that in the invoice and quote module advanced lookup. You don't have to go to the customers module to do that. So a very useful report. It even has some other things that you can look at as well. Now, magnifying glass, that's the other one that said they're littered throughout the system. Well, it just means I want to look at something closer. So if I want to look at stock on hand changes closer, I'm going to hit the magnifying glass next to the stock on hand. But more than that, if you look across the bottom, you'll see a report button. That exports that data to an Excel workbook. So we're trying to include that throughout our package in a lot more sections that we feel might be relevant. So if you're in a magnifying glass and you're looking at maybe on order, look to see if you can export it to Excel. If you're in the customers module and you're looking at their history, their sales history, look at the bottom. You'll be able to export that to Excel. So really quick, you can get something to an Excel workbook. And again, be able to slice and dice it any which way you want. ODBC. So in the beginning, we kind of talked about how that's an open database connector. Why should you care about it? Well, essentially, we have given you guys read access to every table in our database. ODBC is the connector used to read those tables. So you can use Microsoft Excel and ODBC to pull data out of your database. Why might you want to do this? Well, maybe there's a very specific report that you want to run or some very specific data. If you have somebody that's really good with Microsoft Excel and kind of, if you say the words ODBC to them and their eyes don't cross and they know what you're talking about, they could probably take this and make a custom report for you, which would be great. So not just that, ODBC also works in access. So again, it's read access to almost every table in the database. So you guys can make custom reports if you want to. Now, if you don't, that's fine. We have services available for that for hire. Or again, you guys can use somebody that might be really good at that information as well. But it's really cool for making custom reports. And it is kind of a wizard-based reporting in Excel to a degree when pulling that data down. So if this is something that's interests you, we have I do believe, a full webinar almost on this topic as well. But if you want to see it, want to talk about it, call up support. We can get this set up for you guys if it's not already and get you going. So I know that was pretty fast moving. There was a lot to cover, and I didn't want to be too long. We're going on 27 minutes. So here's a slide that like you're used to from past webinars, you can click on. This is going to link to knowledge base articles so you can deep dive on some of the things we talked about earlier. And then again, if you had any questions, give us a call, put in a support ticket, and we can talk about any of these reports that you want in the future. So thanks again for attending. Really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you guys hopefully at maybe some upcoming shows. It's getting into show season again, so hopefully you can stop by the booth, and we'll be able to see you guys there. So again, thank you guys for coming, and until next time.